Hi, 7th graders. This live class will help you with part of your next assignment, in which you will have to create a cluster diagram or concept map. So let's see what that is going to be all about. So your instructions that are going to be in your assignment are going to say this. In the previous lesson, we explored how a character's experience can shape their view of the world around them. The same is true of authors. Understanding an author's background can help a reader infer themes in a text. Think about one issue from Wells's time from the slideshow that you can connect with the novel. Then create a cluster diagram or concept map that connects the historical issue with 2 or 3 details from the book. Okay, so there will be the slideshow in the next assignment, but I'm going to give you a review of it here. Okay, so H.G. Wells, remember he was the author of the story that you have been working on the past few weeks, and he was born in 1866 and lived till 1946. So when he wrote this book, it was the late 1800s, and it was he lived in England at the time. So let's go on. So what does all of this mean? Okay, you will view the slideshow in the next lesson. But in the next few slides here is a summary of what will be presented. The theme and historical context are linked in any story. That means that the theme of a text will be directly related to what is going on in the author's world at the time and what he or she thinks is important. Being aware of the author's historical context helps the reader make informed inferences. Okay, so in other words, knowing that The First Men in the Moon was written in a time before the moon had been explored helps you to better understand maybe why H.G. Wells didn't know certain things about the moon that we know today. So let's start out. H.G. Wells lived in London. And at that time, London was a very powerful city, and Britain had a huge empire. The empire extended to India, to Hong Kong, which means that England ruled over these places, and they had a lot of trade and business and exports and imports going on with these faraway countries. Also, during Wells's lifetime, the Industrial Revolution shaped the culture of Europe. There were many debates about working conditions and workers' rights at the time. So the Industrial Revolution, as you already know, was a time when engines became first used, when factories opened, factories sprouted up all across cities in many countries. But they weren't always the safest of machines. They weren't nearly as safe as we know them now. And as you can see here, even children worked on machines that were unsafe. So there were many debates at that time going on about whether children should even work in factories, about the crowded working conditions, about the unsafe conditions, about the long hours. People worked from 12 to 16 hours a day and just earned pennies per day. At that time also, England was divided by social class. Lower classes were mostly uneducated. School was not mandatory for children at that time. Many children as young as 4 or 5 years old worked in factories. Higher social classes often did not work at all and were wealthy and well educated. And it says their social classes are distinct social groupings which formed British society. That was another issue that was going through Wells's mind as he wrote this book. Also, poverty and poor living conditions affected industrial cities like London and even New York City. Although every member of a family may have worked, they still did not make enough money to meet their needs. This led to heated debates among the educated and the wealthy factory owners. Usually, the most impoverished people were in on these debates because they were just trying to get by, trying to live. So, you might be saying, what do I do with all this information? So, you need to pick one historical issue from the slideshow to connect what was going on in H.G. Wells's world at the time he wrote his novel, the one you just read. The issues to choose from are: 1. London was a powerful city, and Britain was what we'd now call a superpower in the world. Okay, they're not anymore. More like the U.S. is a superpower, but Great Britain was at that time. Okay, so that's one issue, that London was a powerful city. 2, the Industrial Revolution was going on. Factories sprung up in cities across Europe and in the U.S. 3, debates regarding workers' rights, working conditions, and low pay were going on. 4, social classes in England were strictly divided. And 5, there was much poverty in large industrial cities. So you have to pick one of those issues that you are going to make your diagram about. Okay? Then you make connections. After you pick one of the issues, decide how you can connect that issue to the novel. How can you make a connection between that issue and 2 to 3 details from the book? Okay, you're going to have to go back through the story to think about what things were connected to those 5 issues. There are things in the story. You just have to look closely. Pick one issue and find 2 to 3 details that remind you of the social issues going on at the time that H.G. Wells wrote this book. So, then you create a cluster diagram or concept map. This pictured here is a basic cluster diagram. In the middle, in the oval, would be the main topic you are referring to, such as your issue from the slideshow. The outside circles would be details from the story. You, however, will need to make your own diagram connecting just 2 to 3 details from the book to the issue. Okay, so it's not going to be as large as that. Then going on, create a cluster diagram or concept map. Here is a concept map. Concept map is basically the same as a cluster diagram, except that it is arranged a little differently. The main topic, your issue from the 1800s, goes at the top. Details spread out from there. Of course, your concept map will not be as complicated as this. Okay, remember, you only have your main issue and 2 to 3 details from the book. You do not have to do both graphic organizers. You just need to choose one, either a concept map like this or a cluster diagram like this. Okay? You can create it however you'd like. If you know a way of doing this on your computer, if you have a program, you might use Microsoft Excel or a spreadsheet program. You can use Paint or something like that to draw on the computer. Then you can just upload your file to your assignment and turn it in. If you don't know how to do it on the computer, don't spend your time learning how to do it unless you really, really want to. Just draw it on a piece of paper so that I can read it. It has to be legible. And then you scan it or take a picture and turn it in. Remember not to make the attachment so small that when I enlarge it to look at it, it's blurry. Okay? Be aware of how small it's going to be when you send it to me. Okay? Because if I can't read it, I'll just have to send it back. So, if you have any questions, contact me right away and we'll talk about it. Basically, your instructions are to pick one of those issues, create your concept map, and upload it to your assignment. You'll see when you go into the next assignment, it's just like a regular assignment, except in section 2, you have to do your cluster diagram or concept map. Okay, so you are watching this video and you must call me on the phone for credit. There is both of my phone numbers, and try both please. If you can't get me at one, try me at the other, and if you need to leave a message, please leave a message both places. I will talk to you later. Bye.